Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name's JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's Wacky Voice Michelle. It's
what they call me.
1:21 in the morning, Michelle.
Yeah, I drank a Red Bull.
You drank a Red Bull. Also, Michelle, it's 1:21 in the morning because you just got back from going to see, at least at the time we're recording this, a brand new movie called Mickey 17. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I loved it.
Oh, I was gonna lead into it, but you just went ahead and just dumped the tea right off the bat like that.
Sorry, premature.
That's right.
Something.
That's I'm familiar. Anyway, that's that Parasite guy and the Snowpiercer guy. He's the one who made that. Bong Joon-ho.
And Oakjaw, which upset me so much that I only watched it once and I will never watch it again.
I'm a fan for no other reason than his name is Bong.
Yes, his name is
or
Bong.
I don't know. He's Korean, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if they do that thing where like the first name in the order is actually the family name. So maybe his name is Junho.
Probably.
They do.
Yeah, that's definitely the naming convention because I work for a Korean company and it is a huge contention because America does it differently and they argue over how the system should be set up every goddamn day.
So do people call you Roller all the time?
They have as a joke because they know how much the name thing is a big point of contention with our coworkers.
Well, I like that even better though then because it's not just a fella named Bong. There's a whole Bong family.
A whole family of bongs.
Whole family of bongs. There's just
I mean, it probably, now that you mention it, probably is Bong as his last name.
Yeah.
They didn't like change it just for other parts of the world. It's absolutely reversed.
It's the Bong Clan. That would be
Bong Clan.
That'd be like a stoner rapper group, right? The Bong Clan. I don't know.
The Bong Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan's going on their very last ever collective tour this year with Run the Jewels. What a crazy lineup, and I'm not going to get to see any of them, and I'm super sad about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Michelle, I'm not sure if you were aware of this. I do know, obviously, you're not as old as I am, but you do have some experience there in your life. You have some water under your bridge. So you may be aware of this, you may not. But just in case you were not aware, and for anybody who's out there listening who might not be aware, you may have even heard rumors along the line, and I'm here to tell you if you have heard the rumors are absolutely true. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Figured out exactly where you're going like 30 seconds ago. I knew it, and I was like, it would be really funny if I just jumped in and like stole your thunder with this. Like,
yeah, it would have. That would have been hilarious, but it would have been. Yeah, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
It's 1:24 a.m. though, and I did not have.
Seriously, guys, if you are a younger person and you're not familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan, enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, greatest rap album of all time. Go give it a listen. Anyway, we're here to talk about what's it called? Starve-Acre. Yeah, that's the
off to a great start.
I remembered everything about it. Like I know Matt Smith is in it and Morvis Clark and what it's about. I just forgot the name.
Okay.
For a minute. Give me some credit here, Michelle.
Of information.
Well, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for listening to the last episode of this podcast we're ever going to do. Have a good evening.
I'm free.
Oh, God. Dobby will never be free.
Oh, no, it's because he died.
Just because...
Oh, wait, no, his whole thing is he died a free elf.
It's because Joanne's a TERF, that's why.
Yeah.
Nah. Anyway, let's not get sucked into that hole. How you doing lately, Michelle? You having a good life? Things going well for you?
You had sucked into a hole.
Oh wow, Jesus! There's some potential for
I have no
discomfort there.
I'm tired.
How'd your
speaking?
How did the paper that you suddenly remembered you had to finish an hour and a half before I had to finish it? How'd that go?
I turned it in on time. It was a struggle.
Are you gonna pass?
I'm predicting at least a B. I think it was very solid because it's not like I hadn't started it. I just had an outline and went, oh, fuck, I have to actually write this as something. And that's the part that I struggle with. I can
Cool.
explain things while speaking just fine. And so I'm like, I could tell you all about nuclear energy and the pros and cons and impacts on society and the environment and all of that stuff. I could tell you that. But writing 3 pages about it, very difficult.
Yeah, I don't. I'm pretty. Like I've always done well writing papers, but I fucking hate it. It's the worst.
Yeah, me too.
The worst thing. Actually, for a short while, I spent a summer making a living writing term papers for other college kids. That was that was a fun thing. It's
then there's no pressure for you to get a good grade, so
right,
it's better. Yeah,
right. And what it does, and like they were term papers on topics that, like, I did a couple for a friend of mine who was getting a teaching degree. So I actually had to like research the shit on my own and then put it together. And what it goes to show me is that college paper writing standards are trash. Because I looked at those papers and I was like, they paid me $300 to write this, and there's no way that anybody is going to look at this and be like, a college student did not write that. And I did 3 of them, and they all got B's and A's.
That sounds like good money, though.
It was all right. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. What else did you have going on today? You had the math thing. Did you get your math homework done?
Yes, my math homework is done. I do have a couple lecture videos to watch. You're just reminding me how many things I should be doing right now.
Full disclosure, I am currently sampling. A friend of mine acquired a new supply of cannabis-infused edibles.
That explains so
and I
much.
sampled a couple of them, and they're doing quite a good job, and I'm a little scatterbrained right now.
I don't think your eyes have been open at all this entire class.
My eyes are, Michelle, my eyes are open. That's...
But
how rude. Anyway,
really
so I'm just a little scattered is all. I just want to talk about all the things. I want to make sure things are good in your life, Michelle. I want to make sure you haven't completely succumbed to the literal living nightmare we're in right now.
No, I'm actually having survivor's guilt because I'm doing fine right now.
Who died?
No, survivor's guilt, like how everybody else is going through this tragedy and I'm okay right now.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, I'm might be medicated. I am medicated. That's for sure. Starve Acre, is that what we're here to talk about?
It sure is.
Well, let's talk about it. Okay. Do you want to read the descripity from IMDb, or is that something I was going to do? I know we decided which one we were going to do, but we didn't decide who was going to read it.
When you said that you had edibles in your system, I immediately turned to IMDb so I would have it pulled up because I knew you would.
I mean, I have it. I have it right in front. Michelle, I have Shudder, IMDb, Wikipedia, and Rotten Tomatoes up in front of me. Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, then, do you want to read the script, or should I read?
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. Okay. It's right there in front of me. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Starve Acre. Based on a 2019 novel, by the way, adapted from that. Anyway, Starve Acre, an idyllic rural family life of a couple, is thrown into turmoil when their son starts acting out of character. 2023. An hour and 38 minutes. Starring Matt Smith of Doctor Who fame, Morpeth Clark, Saint Maud, and the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power fame. Starve Acre. A Shudder original? Exclusive. God damn it. I almost made it, Michelle. I almost got it all. Well, I guess I'm just gonna go bury my head in the mud and pretend that I am a person of value, because I clearly can't do anything right. Michelle, would you like to give us your...
None of us are people of value. Let's be real.
That's
Our
fair.
group is not the people of value.
Michelle, did you just turn your... Are you all of a sudden like a no lives matter person? Is that what just happened here?
Oh, I've been a nihilist for like my entire life.
Well, we'll talk about nihilism and absurdism another time.
Okay,
but
fair.
This is Starve Acre. Let's talk about your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, my spoiler-free thoughts. First off, completely unrelated to the movie, but Matt Smith just makes me angry because he did replace David Tennant in the Doctor Who series, and there was never a better storyline than the Doctor and Rose. And so every time I see Matt Smith, I do get a little bit angry. And then you reminded me he was in Doctor Who, which I had already been stewing about since watching this movie. But that said, this movie is better than I expected it to be. It was on my list of ones that I had wanted to see. I do not remember why in any way, shape, or form. It was just one that had a lot of buzz
Probably
around
because
it.
Matt Smith and Morpeth Clark are in it.
Well, yeah, that too. That's definitely a piece of it. But it was good. There's a lot of stuff that I want to say that I can't until we get into the spoiler section. It's good. So I really can't think of anything I can say that would be spoiler free. We're gonna go with a 3.5.
All right, 3.5 skulls on Starve Acre for Michelle.
Yep.
3.5 out of 5. Yeah.
Would you like to hit us with your spoiler free thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to. In the form of an anecdote, Michelle and I were chatting just briefly earlier today, making some plans to record the episode. And I just casually mentioned to her, I said, you could probably already guess what my thoughts on this movie were. And she said, you know what, let me bring up the exact verbiage here because that's the kind of weirdo that I am.
I think I said I was stumped.
Let's see here. Oh, where'd it go? Let's see.
This is really good podcasting right now.
I know, isn't it? Isn't it just
really
wonderful? They're like,
yeah.
man, I'm so glad that I, well,
this
anyway,
is why I listen to
find
podcasts
it.
at double speed most of the time.
Oh, yeah, here it is. It's right in front of my stupid face. What a great podcast. I said, you already know how I feel about it just from seeing it, I imagine. She said, I'm actually pretty stumped about how you'd feel. And I said this. I said, Michelle, come on, it's British folk horror in which a thing happens. I almost spoiled it.
Yeah,
I went through all that effort.
You were going through that.
I went through all that effort to find this because, and I completely forgot that it's totally spoilery, and I can't say it. Man, how are we on nearly 300 episodes of this podcast?
Because anybody's allowed to podcast. They don't moderate it. You can just put anything into the world. I really thought about some of the weird shit that we could turn our show into. Like me just drinking a bowl of soup. No video, just the slurping sound for 10 minutes for the Patreon subscribers.
The squelching of the soup?
Yep. I've definitely thought about like recording my own squelches, like squelch investigations. Squelchigations. Anyway.
Oh, fabulous. The dog has started barking. Let me go see what that's all about.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, it looks like we may have dodged a bullet on the dog front. He just wanted to get up and snuggle with Mom for a little while. Or at least, I'm hoping that's all he wanted. So anyway, man, what a wonderful bit of podcasting we're doing today. Starve Acre, my spoiler-free score is I really, 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 really liked this movie because I really, really like British folk horror, and this is British folk horror, and so 4.5 skulls.
4.5. I also know how you feel about Maud. You do love Maud.
I do love Saint Maud so much.
You love Maud.
I had a couple of, we'll talk about it in the spoiler section, but Morpeth Clark is, she's pretty. Anyway, stop making fun of me.
You're the one who said it. I'm laughing in relation to what you said.
You're laughing at what I said.
No, I would never laugh at a person because then they'd laugh at me and I have too much stuff for them to make fun of.
Michelle, I'm so high.
I can tell. We're 16 minutes in.
Oh, and I made a big... Okay, let's talk about this movie maybe maybe this will not be the complete clusterfuck it
JD, it's going to be like this forever. It's going to be like this forever.
For never, Michelle. For never.
Okay,
guys, if you haven't already turned the podcast off, first of all, thank you. Please forgive us. Also, if it's your first time turning into the show and you haven't turned the podcast off, man, I hate to know what else you've been listening to that you've stuck around through all of this. But this is where we're gonna do spoilers. If you want to see the movie before we spoil stuff, hit the pause button. Michelle.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you now to do that thing you do, where you recap the plot for anybody who's not interested in going back to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And while you do that, I'm going to do the terribly inadvisable thing of taking some rips off of this vaporizer.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're definitely not high enough at 1:38 in the morning.
It's medicine.
Okay, that colorful tube it's in definitely looks like something that a doctor was like, here's what you need, a bright green tube of...
Got a prescription bottle that says Ghost Moonshine on it.
Does it actually?
No! That is a strange... That
Ghost
is a strange
Moonshine
name,
is a great
though.
name, though, because it's a double entendre for spirits.
No, this one actually...
Like, ghost, spirit, moonshine.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
That's a good one.
No, this one is Super Blue Diesel is what this is.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like the brand name of something that you would pick up at the pharmacy. Okay, recap of this movie. Juliet, she was Saint Maud, and she's not in this movie. Now she's Morfydd Clark. That's who she really is, and then she's Juliet. And she's married to a guy named Richard. He's a real dick. Haha. He's played by Matt Smith. And they have a son named Owen, and Owen has some problems. His first problem that we learn is that he likes to poke ponies' eyes out, and that's very distressing. So he does that, and they're like, whoa, our child's a little bit disturbed. And then we find out that it's the 70s because they hook up this brain scan thing to Owen, and Owen does not like it very much for good reason. And so Owen's very troubled, but Owen also has asthma. He's troubled with asthma. Poor kid. And he has an asthma attack, and Juliet just kind of watches him for a little bit, but then she calls the ambulance, and she's like, whoa, my kid. And here's the part where I went, ugh, another movie about dead children and their parents having to deal with it. I'm so tired. I get it. Your kid's dead. Luckily, it went in a direction that I never would have predicted a dead kid movie would go in. And what happens is that Matt Smith, he had a bad childhood. Welcome to the club, buddy. We all got beat a little bit. It's what gave us our character, or at the very least, a very short-lived stand-up comedy career. That's, we all come from a little bit of fucked upness. Otherwise, what would we be? Oh, I almost said something really... No, I'm so glad I caught that. That would have been... That's for just the friend group. Just the friend group gets to hear the thought that almost came out of my mouth of what we would be if not for broken. Okay, so Richard, he's a little bit broken. And now he's extra broken because his kid's fucking dead. And Julia...
I already know what you were gonna say!
After we're done recording, I do want to know, because yeah. Anyway, Juliet, she has a sister. Her sister's not dead. Her name's Harry, which is very funny. And her sister has one of the best dogs I've ever seen. I don't know if it was a Pekingese or what, but it was a very, like, that's Fizzgig or whatever from the Dark Crystal. Like, that is a great dog. That is an awesome dog. So Harry's there, and who fucking cares about her? I want more about that dog. And she's carrying that thing all over the place. Like, oh, he's so great. The dog stole the show for me. What a cute baby. Okay, so speaking of cute babies, Richard finds a rabbit as he's out trying to dig up a tree that's like the entrance from the pagan world to the earth world, and he's finding this stuff that his abusive father wrote about Dandelion Jack, which, let me just say, one of the dings against this movie is that Dandelion Jack is a fucking stupid name. It does not invoke fear at all. Dandelions, you can blow them away. That's like the least strong thing out there. I am not afraid of a dandelion. I could beat the fuck out of a dandelion if I had to. I could kick a dandelion's ass. Anyway, so Dandelion Jack, aka Jack Gray, Jack Ryan, Jack somebody, Jack off. So Jack somebody, he's coming into the world via a rabbit. Richard finds a rabbit corpse and he brings it into his house because that's what normal people do. And it's currently just bones, but every time he looks at it, it's whoa, a little bit less bones and a little bit more rabbit. And eventually it becomes a full rabbit. And he's like, holy shit, I just grew a rabbit. And this is one of the things that really does work for me in the movie is the way that they never once showed a real rabbit. It is all this animatronic puppet thing that is so unnerving and really sold the rabbit bit for me. I'm glad that it was never like sometimes a real rabbit, sometimes a stuffed rabbit, sometimes this. Like it is always like just alarming. So Juliet finds out about the rabbit and she's like, oh, that's cute. We're going to put him outside. And so they try to do that and they have to like get him to leave. And eventually he comes back. He scratches the fuck out of Harry's arm, which I have friends with rabbits. I don't know if you've been scratched by a rabbit. That shit hurts. And then Juliet's like, well, this is my baby now. So she takes the rabbit inside. Meanwhile, there's this whole thing with Richard figuring out that, about the pagan door to the earth and how Dandelion Jack's going to come back because he needs the death of a child, a man, and a woman. And, the child had to be well loved and Richard was not well loved, but Owen was. And Juliet says that when Owen was having his asthma attack, she had a moment of clarity about how good their lives would be without him, and that was Dandelion Jack influencing her. So now they have a rabbit, and Juliet kills Richard's friend. So that's the man sacrifice. And then as Harry is standing there being like, what the fuck is going on? Richard kills her. Juliet breastfeeds a rabbit. Which would terrify me so badly to put my nipple in that thing's mouth. So good on her. That's a whole trust exercise I do not want to partake in. And now they just have a rabbit child named Dandelion Jack. And good luck explaining that shit. But it was the 70s, so I guess murder was way more frequent and way less caught because they didn't have the internet or DNA. DNA had not been invented yet. Yes, I am saying it that way. I'm not saying DNA testing. DNA was created in 1993 by a man named Marcus Shalaki. He was like, this is what we need. And yeah, that's what I learned in my engineering class that I'm taking and not doing well in.
I was taught that his name was Marcus DNA.
Oh, that would
and
make sense.
They named it after him.
Yep, good old Mark. Marky Mark.
Well, Mark DNA.
The same Mark Wahlberg. That's what he used to be named.
Oh, Jesus. His name was Mark DNA.
Mark DNA Wahlberg. Marky Mark. Marky Mark ain't nothing to fuck with. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's questionable. Yes, Michelle.
I know you're going to have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, well, I have some to say about it.
That's good. We have a podcast. Don't say that like it's a bad thing. I'm glad you have a lot to say.
You know, I first of all, like, I think the first thing that nobody could ever speak poorly about in regard to this movie, and something that you have to acknowledge right away, is the simple fact that it's Matt Smith and Morpeth Clark, right? They're a couple of powerhouse performers. Matt Smith, I've seen, I mean, obviously, I know him from Doctor Who, but I've seen him in a variety of other things as well.
Crown. He's really good at The
Crown. He is a kind of like he's a sort of quiet menacing in this, where it's hard to explain, because at no point does he feel like aggressive. At no point whatsoever in the entirety of this film did I ever suspect that he was gonna become violent or abusive towards the child or towards Jules or anything like that. He never struck me as that, but he somehow managed to have just this menacing, just uncomfortable presence there. Even the way they shoot him in this, he even manages to look unappealing, and he's a very attractive man. But there are a couple of times where they shoot him at weird angles where he looks like he has this giant like square jaw and it's all like disconcerting. Well, I mean, yeah, but they shoot it in a way that sort of deliberately overplays it, I think.
That's showing the real him. That's what we
and then so that I think is where any discussion of this movie has to go. I think the chemistry between Matt Smith and Morpeth Clark, who is every bit the performer that he is, and I personally think then some, she's phenomenal. But they play off each other here so well, and they have to do so many different things, right? Like this is first and foremost a movie about grief and loss. It's and it wears one of the things about it to me is that I enjoy is it wears its influence on its sleeves. Right, like there's obviously some Wicker Man here. There's a little bit, honestly, of Hereditary here. There's a little bit even of oh God, what's the other one that specifically was jumping out to me? Well, it's escaping me at the moment, but it'll come back to me in the least convenient time. But no, just the chemistry of them playing off each other was so incredibly good. Because they have to have very positive things and very concerning things, and then those scenes after the kid dies where it's not angry and it's not like heaving sadness or anything. It's just cold and dead. Like that was even almost more uncomfortable than like shrieking grief. Right? It's just like all the life and ability to feel anything at all just like completely drops out of them at one point. And I really enjoyed, all other things aside, and we'll talk about that other stuff in a minute, really enjoyed just watching them work. What did you think about Matt Smith and Morpeth Clark in this movie?
They're good.
Oh, okay.
No, I just, Matt Smith makes me angry because he replaced David Tennant, and I'm trying to get past that because I keep seeing him give these incredible performances and showing that he's a very capable actor outside of being the Doctor. I watched The Crown. I really like him as Prince Philip, but goddamn, how dare he? David Tennant. Oh, but aside from that, yes, if I separate him from the Doctor Who, exactly, then I do think I'm capable of enjoying this. Morpeth Clark is the standout star for me by far, though. She's really incredible. Good job of, like you were kind of saying, the like lack of emotion is so much like they're in that stage of grief where you have nothing left in you that you can physically give to that grief. You are just empty right now, and they're in that stage, and she does a great job with her eyes of just like that dead stare and just getting through the days as she can. One thing about this movie, I am so tired of movies that are metaphors when it comes to grief. There are so many of them. And you know what? Maybe there's a metaphor here, but fuck it. I'm taking this whole thing as literally happening, and I think that's intended, and I prefer that. Yeah, like I'm just saying, like, maybe there's one, but I appreciate that this movie is not like, well, everything's a metaphor and you have to know that in order to get it. No, he's bringing Dandelion Jack back in a literal sense, and that's what this movie is, and I enjoy that. I prefer that weirdness as opposed to everything being symbolism, because that's been done so much, and I was waiting for that to come, and it never did that. It was like, no, this is just like what's happening.
I think... I don't know that I'm understanding necessarily your use of the term metaphor or symbolism, because this movie is full of metaphor, right? It's full of symbolism about grief and pain and loss. But
I can enjoy it literally.
Right, yeah, like it's definitely it's not a movie where like, is this shit really happening or is it all in their heads kind of a situation? Yes. Like, no, this is definitely like, and I very much do appreciate that. Ari Aster gave an interview about Hereditary back in the day, and I don't remember specifically where it was, where he makes it very clear that like, no, while yes, it is metaphorical and it has symbolism involved, from the story's perspective, this stuff is all 100% actually happening to these people. Like, this is a real experience happening. And that's very much the same thing here. And God, it would fuck me up. I can't even imagine. But what I love about it is as you start to watch it and you realize that, like, again, very much in a way of a movie like Hereditary, or even Midsommar, you know, Ari Aster likes to do that. You start to realize this story is much bigger, and wheels may have been moving long before we ever even joined the story, right? It's very. Fuck, I was just about to ask you a question and then I went completely out. Wait, Michelle, you talk for a little while. I'm going to try and straighten myself out.
Yes. So when I talked to you yesterday, you said that you were 20 minutes from the end and that you had to rewatch it. So we were just going to postpone recording for a day. And I also had to stop and rewatch it. And I couldn't tell. I still don't know how I feel about it, but it feels like there's something missing because the part where Matt Smith's character Richard brings the rabbit into his home, I was convinced I missed something about him doing something that would begin that regeneration process. And I was like, I am missing a gigantic plot point right now. And so I was trying to remember, like, what happened? Did he do something as, like, I know he's a college professor. I was like, is he a scientist? And he did something and I completely missed that scene. And so I went back and restarted too. And no, it's just he brings this rabbit in. He gets a feeling that he should bring the rabbit inside and the rabbit starts regrowing and he doesn't do anything. And I still don't know how I feel about that. It was really hard for me to, like, I had to get past that to enjoy the rest of the movie. It felt like something was lacking at that moment for me. And I still, like, I don't know what it is. It feels like there should have been something to start the process.
I think bringing it into his home is what started the process.
Yeah, but, like, why? Why did he do it?
Because the remains of the rabbit are possessed by the demon Jack Gray and calling to him, trying to get him to bring it into his home.
I would absolutely not listen to that fucking demon, though. That rabbit's not coming in my house. I just think Matt Smith has some bad judgment calls, if that's what he's doing.
I think maybe you don't understand the strength of demonic influence, Michelle.
You know what? Fair point. I probably don't, because I definitely think that I could be like, no, fuck off. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, your head's turning around again? So dramatic. Like, I think I could tell a demon to fuck off. Oh no, I'm getting challenged by one.
In genuine response to your question, though, that's kind of where I would come down on it, is the impression I got was the simple act of taking it out of the ground and bringing it into his home because as far as I'm concerned, the process is already in motion long before that ever happens, right?
Yes.
The process is already in motion when they move back to this one, and you start thinking of, like, oh, was there some sort of influence from Jack Gray that resulted in the boy having asthma, which is the reason they move back to the countryside to begin with. Because you find out that Richard's dad, Neil, had been trying to bring forth this Jack Gray demon spirit from out of this portal tree, which, again, weird stuff happening. So yeah, it definitely gave me this impression of just, like, how far, because like Gordon and Mrs. Ford, Gordon, I genuinely believed him when he said he hadn't told Owen about any of the Jack Gray stuff, but then by the time the end comes around, you realize he actually does know everything about this. Did they have some kind of influence on bringing these guys back? Just layers and layers of what was going on here that I really appreciated.
What do you think their lives are like after the movie ends?
You mean Richard and
Maud.
Jules.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, and that's why for me this one didn't go quite the full 5 skulls. I'm glad you asked that question. is the one thing about this, the one question I do still have is, what is Jack Gray's end game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it.
Just a rabbit?
Yeah, like, I get it, right? Like, okay, Jack Gray wants to be brought into the world. He needs 3 sacrifices, and I don't understand why it's so important that the child be a son that's loved by his parents, but then apparently the man and the woman can just be random fuck all anybody. That part doesn't quite make sense to me either. But that ultimately is just like, okay, so this is what brings Jack Gray out. Why do they want to bring him out? Does he, like, grant some sort of fertility situation? Because it definitely, I get the impression by the end of the movie that Gordon and Mrs. Ford are part of this group, and they've been working towards this, like they've been trying to create this family of Richard and Jules, and their child is Jack Gray, and it's gonna, I don't know, fucking benefit this village to some degree. I would have liked a little bit more on that side of things for sure.
Yeah, because I think that's also kind of where it fell flat for me, because I was like, okay, now you just have a rabbit baby, and that in and of itself is not horrifying. Like, people have pet rabbits. I have 2 friends with pet rabbits, and I love their pet rabbits. They're fun. They do little blinkies. They throw temper tantrums when they stomp their feet, and it's much cuter than a human child throwing a temper tantrum. So, like, that doesn't sound like a bad life to me. So, like, what happens after this? Does he somehow become a full-blown human? Rabbits don't have a very long lifespan. Like, how long is he gonna live? And is he just fine being a rabbit? And then he dies of old age eventually, and then he becomes a rabbit way down the road? Is he gonna enjoy his life, or is he gonna be bored as hell because he's a rabbit and he doesn't have opposable thumbs and can't play video games and it's the 70s? And what are you supposed to do? Read books? Rabbits have a hard time reading books because they like to shred paper. He tried to read a book to quell his boredom, and he would just start eating it, and he'd never figure out what happened at the end of it. Like, being a rabbit, like having a rabbit as a pet, pretty good time. Being a pet rabbit, pretty boring. I think he made a mistake. He should have come back as like a tiger or something.
You may be onto something. That is, though, like, specifically the fact that it's a rabbit. Like, I know there are a lot of rabbit and hare imagery in, especially in British British Isles folklore, and it's typically a fertility symbol, right? That sort of thing.
Fuck like rabbits.
Well, yeah, but this obviously has that sort of very British folk horror sort of, creation and destruction, sex and death kind of thing going on. But it is part of what makes me wonder, like, is this part of some like local pagan cult that does like facilitates this for the demon every so often so that something happens? I would have liked to at least a little bit more of that on this story. How did you feel, Michelle, about the horror elements in this, the violence and the gore and that sort of stuff?
I'm not much of a folk horror person. I've tried it. I really would like to be a folk horror person, but I'm not. But this did a little bit better than I think some other things with the horror elements. Where it gets very big and flashy is when they're doing the meditation part, and that was my least favorite part of the movie. I thought it went too far. So I actually liked that it was a little bit more toned down, and like even the murder at the very end of Harry is very like nonchalant. She's just dead now. And that seems like how a lot of this movie is. The most horrific part is the death of the son, and that's not even like a like supernatural element or like a horror element. Like, that's just a the thing that happens, and their grief over it was more horrifying than anything else really for me. I know this is your kind of Flava Flav. I thought it was fine. I kind of enjoyed it more as a drama than I did as a horror of and taking it literally of maybe there is no supernatural element and Richard just found a rabbit and all this shit is happening, and it's just a special kind of rabbit that rebuilds itself like a phoenix, you know?
Maybe I really enjoyed the regrowing rabbit specifically, like going from just a dirt covered skeleton to the way the different layers built on top of each other, and it slowly like regrew from the inside out. I thought that was really well executed. I don't know who made those things. I should have looked more closely at the credits. Goddamn, they get a good job. Also, the bit where Jules goes out and stabs the dude. I mean, it's bloody and it's all sorts of like, oh, we think something is one thing is happening, and then we realize something else is happening, and it's kind of eerie. But when Richard just like he slowly slides that hammer off the windowsill and then just turns and fucking macks Harry in the head with that hammer, it's so sudden and so profoundly violent in comparison to everything else we've seen. I fucking screamed at my screen. My mom was like, what the heck is going on in there? It was one of those just like, oh shit kind of moments. I really appreciated that. I thought it was very effective for being kind of a one and done situation for this movie.
This is a really tense movie with a lot of dreadful atmosphere. And yet the thing that I was scared most was that something was going to happen to that cute fucking dog. I was like, that rabbit better not like kill that dog or I'm going to be mad. This will get one from me. I'm so glad that dog, I don't think it ever died. I don't think so. I know Harry's dead. That dog is like maybe in the car with the windows up and it's going to have like a bad time. But I like to think that that dog is living a happy life now. And for that, you know, it can be a good movie. The dog did not die, so I'm happy. That's all it takes.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you're not wrong. When they introduced the dog, I immediately was just like, oh no.
I was like, that thing's so cute, it has to die. That's how movies do it.
I'm so glad that doesn't seem to have been the case. Did you, like me, Michelle, think for a short while when the rabbit started coming back to life? And this is part of why I wanted to watch it again, is because this movie is very subtle in a lot of its storytelling and details. Like, if you're not careful, you can miss layers of what's going on here very easily, and details here. But at one point, and I'm curious if you had this same experience, when the rabbit first started coming back, did you start to worry that this was going to turn into they're going to try and bring the kid back to life sort of situation? Like almost like a Pet Cemetery kind of vibe?
I was just about to say, I really thought we were going Pet Cemetery. And then that was like, I feel like...
And I groaned.
Yeah,
I was like, please don't.
A big part of this movie was me being like, oh, I've seen this kind of movie before, and then it doesn't do what I was expecting. Like, okay, the kid's gonna die, and then it's gonna be grief, and it's gonna be heavily, like, symbolic, and like, oh, none of that literally happened. It was all just, like, symbolically telling this story, and then that doesn't happen. And I was like, okay, Pet Cemetery, that rabbit's gonna kill them, or they're gonna try to bring their son back as the next step, and neither of those things happen. No, they just have a rabbit now.
Well, and that was the other thing I was thinking is like, oh, maybe the whole point of bringing this demon back is it's gonna help them get their kid back, but killing the kid was part of bringing the demon out anyway, right? So I would have just a little bit more about what, but I again also I suppose they would say something to the effect of, well, the story is more about just like the experience of being those people having this done to them by outside forces, and not even they necessarily ever understand exactly what's going on. And I can take that to a certain degree.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I like this one. I'm glad we got to see it, and I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Me too.
Michelle, are my eyes open?
My eyes are not open, so I can't look at you and tell you if your eyes are open. Oh, shit.
I'm pretty sure. No, I can see the waveform. My eyes are open. Star of Acre, guys, is playing on Shudder now, especially, like I said, if you like British folk horror. It's like, that's what I said. I was like, Michelle, it's British folk horror. How the fuck do you think I feel about it?
Yeah.
And then for emphasis, the line I put was, it's British folk horror, and there's a lady who breastfeeds a rabbit. How could I not love this movie?
Yeah, I figured it out at that point, but I thought maybe you were gonna be like, "This is dumb as hell." I did not know, but yeah, you're right. It's British and stars the lady from Saint Maud. Of course, you're gonna like it.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She is.
This is something I wanted to do. So this is an interesting thing that I noticed right before we were going to record the episode. Every now and then I will jump in and look for some interesting member reviews from our Shudder fellow Shudder members. Sometimes there's some hilarious, ridiculous commentary, and sometimes just some good send-ups. But for this movie, you guys, I was looking at it, and this movie, as it turns out, the second review down, at least on the ones I'm being shown, is the longest goddamn Shudder member review I have ever seen in my life. Here's the thing. It's a 2 out of 5 skull review for Star of Acre. I don't know what it says. I haven't read it yet. Well, let's all find out together. I'm going to read the longest Shudder review I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, great.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this, Michelle?
Oh, I don't think I have a choice. You go ahead.
I mean, you can tell me to stop. You really can, but
we'll see.
I think this is going to be fun.
Yep.
This is going to be fun. This is Sina Parisi 84. A slow burn folk horror that feels like a blurry dream that I can remember as soon as I wake up. I can remember everything I did, everything that happened, everyone that was there. I remember the entirety of my dream, but I still feel like I'm not remembering it all. I feel like there's vital bits and pieces of my dream that I have absolutely no recollection of. Even though I can clearly picture it playing out, can follow the entire story that unfolded throughout that dream, I can't help but feel like there's so much that is missing, that it's incomplete, that it's pointless dream to remember, because without those missing moments, it's something else. It's empty. I'm sure I sound crazed. I never know when it comes to dreams how much we have in common with each other, if anyone else goes through the emotions and the strangeness I do. But the entire time I watched this movie, that was all I could think. This is one of those failed dreams of mine, a blurry, hazy memory that pretends that it's complete and perfectly intact, but in truth is missing its most vital and meaningful points and moments. I wish I was one of those people who can enjoy the atmosphere and tone of a film, even when it fails us in depth and purpose, in intrigue and excitement, but I'm not. I don't know how people are able to feel good after being left with just atmosphere, just enjoyable shots and invoking scenery. I find it irritating. I dislike being invoked by anyone or anything if there's no purpose behind it, if all I've been lured away to do is bask in the highlights of failure. No, thank you. Sorry if I sound obnoxious. I don't mean to. I just fear that this style of storytelling, the horror world especially, has been becoming more and more plentiful, and it makes me weary and nervous, because if there's one thing that I've learned about people, it's that they instinctively and possibly unknowingly follow whatever grows the fastest, the biggest, and most importantly, the easiest. It never fails, and horror has always been the only genre in film and television that I've ever bothered with. I don't particularly enjoy watching TV, watching movies. It makes me feel like I've lost time I can't get back, like I've wasted pieces of my day, my night, on nothing but feigned emotions mimicking the waves and the tides of society. But with horror, it is different. With horror, I feel like I'm embarking on an adventure, like I'm waiting in line at an amusement park to finally climb into the terrifying, beautifully twisted and heart-pumping coaster that climbs higher than anything else within miles and miles, that drops and turns at speeds that take your breath away. We love this so much for a reason. The adrenaline, the fear, the anxiety, the excitement, it's addictive. I love it so much, and I always have. And it is what has always drawn me to horror. I feel that same excitement, albeit less intense over the years, even with the most outstanding of horror pieces. But that's only because of the inevitable desensitization that curses us all. It's not because of horror. I still feel so much, though, and I truly love it, which is why this film, as so many these last few years, leaves me feeling like I've lost something. I don't expect everything to be exceptional, but I am growing weary of this trend. There's a failed courtesy to the audience in films like this. They had the muse, they had the idea, the spark. They chose to try to be something more, and something that they perceived as more, and by doing that, they created a film most of us will forget forget and that no one will ever talk about and pass on to another. Had they instead chosen to let their spark actually light something, had they let it be what it could have been, had they let themselves write and not think, just write and not think, not force, not shape, not try to imitate and repeat the patterns and trends of this painfully dull new fad of slow and forcefully deep horror, they might have made something actually brilliant. And if not brilliant, something good, something very good. And the good ones, the very good ones, and especially the brilliant ones, they all get remembered. They get remembered. They get talked about. They even get referrals. But these cookie cutter stretches of sound and color and fleeting thoughts, these never live beyond their initial moments. What the fuck?
Several comments.
Holy shit, Michelle, somebody took time out of their life to make that happen, to make that exist.
Theory.
Holy
I got a
fuck.
theory. So first off, what the fuck? That was longer than the movie. Second thought, that could be the monologue for a movie villain when they're revealing to the superhero why they've turned out this way, because of movies like this wasting their lives, and they're tired of it, and they want movies to be as they were in the past. And third, this is definitely a person who has a blog, and they wrote their blog and went, this is so good that other people will appreciate it, and they just copy pasted what they wrote for their blog. Can guarantee they posted this every place that they could find, where they're like, my thoughts are so good, everybody is going to appreciate hearing them. It was well written, but
no, it's not. It's terrible.
No, I like it. I like the actual review. I don't think it helps at all with anybody's feeling towards the movie. It's good as a personal diary entry. It's confusing as a review on a movie viewing platform. I like the writing. I think it's interesting. I would be fascinated to read the rest of their diary and how they feel with their interpersonal relationships, with their coworkers and their family and whatnot. Are they bored by them as well? But on a movie streaming platform, it's strange. It's very strange.
Very strange.
I was about to say I do want to have a conversation with them, but then I remembered, no, I absolutely don't. That's the kind of person, like,
oh no, you really
starts
don't.
a conversation in a coffee shop and, like, does not let you leave. You're like, yep, I've had so many dudes in the bar when you're like, yeah, bro, I'm so glad that you liked the show. Yeah, that was great. Thanks. Thank you. I have to go talk to my fellow producers now. Yeah, no, yes, I would love to follow your band's Facebook page. Yeah, that's great. No, I don't have a cell phone. My cell phone fell in the river. I'm so sorry. You'll have to get a hold of me via fax. You can have my fax number. That's this person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm
after that. Like, wow.
I am glad I took a moment to read it though, because goddamn, that was a journey.
I went through.
Holy
Did they ever say
they had some feelings?
Specific, but did they say anything at all specific to Starve Acre? Or is this a copy and paste on any movie that's a slow burn? Because I don't think they ever said, like, anything specific to Starve Acre. I don't think they wrote it for this movie.
Here's what I'm going to do is I just copy and pasted the first couple of lines into Google. Let's see what happens. Nope. This, the Shudder page for Starve Acre is the first result that comes up, and I don't see any other results that tie in with that series of words.
Send me a screenshot. I'm going to figure out who they are. I'll have their social security number by the morning. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. I will find the manifesto that they are writing.
Michelle, I know everything I want to know already from this review. Well, I will send.
Birth year.
I'll send you the stuff that I'll send you the screen grab. You keep whatever you find to yourself. I don't care.
I can't make that promise. If I find something real interesting, if I'm like, they own a llama farm, I'm gonna have to share that with somebody.
Michelle, they're alpacas.
There's a difference between a llama and an alpaca. They are not not the same thing. Alpacas are friendlier, llamas are assholes.
Michelle, I was referring to Nicolas Cage and The Color Out of Space. They're not llamas, they're alpacas.
And I absolutely 100% missed that.
Oh, that's because it wasn't a very clear... I mean, there's any number of movies that have llamas and alpacas. There's no reason you should have immediately known that I was talking about that specific movie that has alpacas in it.
Well, I got nothing
well, this
else.
shit just got all... This is a really awkward way to end an episode.
That's my favorite way to end an episode, though. One where, like, after the episode's done, there's no further episodes out yet. They just have this one to stream, nothing more recent. And they're like, I hope those people are okay. That's what I want people to question. After they listen to an episode, be like, oh, I hope they're... Oh, God, I'm kind of worried about the hosts if we watch Shudder.
Here's what I would like you to do. If this is the first time you've listened and you did happen to make it all the way to the end of this episode and you have absolutely no intention whatsoever of listening to another episode of the show ever again in your life, would you do us a favor and at least send us an email at mail@wewatchshudder.com to tell us so?
No, don't do that. I have such anxiety. I'm a very nice person and I will cry.
Don't send it to mail@wewatchshudder.com. Send it directly to me, JD Provorse, PROVORSE @gmail.com. I don't give a fuck. I'll put my email address out there. It's everywhere already. I
love that. Yeah, I think that would be good. They'll have a way to express their feelings now.
I get notifications from my credit monitoring people. Well, not notifications, but I go in and I look, and it's like, oh, we found your email on the dark web. We found your email on the dark. I believe every email address that ever existed is on the dark web already.
Yeah. That's what it's for.
It's like, you found, what you really mean is you found my email address on a mailing list somewhere and you're trying to make it sound like it's a bigger deal than it is.
Someday I'm going to be one of those people who gets, the Tor, an Onion, whatever the shit you need to go on the dark web. I'm going to become one of those people someday. It's surprising I haven't become one of those people. But that's my goal in life is I just want to live in an office with no lights. No, because
Michelle, no, you can't do that, and let me tell you why. And this is gonna sound glib, but I also mean it in a more serious way than I think a lot of people who don't necessarily know you will realize. Michelle, if you start going on the dark web, you're gonna become that lady in red rooms, and we can't.
Yes. We're all surprised I'm not that person already. I may as well just stop.
Michelle, you don't want to. No, you don't want to do that to yourself.
I'm gonna be playing blackjack in order to buy videos that nobody else has access to. Out of context, if you haven't seen that movie, that could be like a very creepy statement, but it's also creepy in the context of bedrooms.
Yeah, let's change the subject real quick. Michelle, what's next week?
We are doing a trilogy.
We're doing a 5-G.
We are doing a 5-G. We did decide to do all 5. Not that I.
What would that be? If 4 is a quadrilogy, a quintology.
Quintology.
Yeah, I think, or maybe a pentology. I don't know. We're talking about the Evil Dead franchise next week, guys. And do you know why we're talking? And I mean, we're doing the Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. And Evil Dead Rise. All 5 of those fucking movies. We're not going to do Ash versus Evil Dead because there's too many of them. We won't be able to get them all watched. It's fine. But do you know why? Do you know what the bigger reason at play here is? Do you want to tell them, Michelle?
We'll do anything that's trending in order to try to seem slightly relevant. And since they're being added to the Shudder streaming platform, we just really want people to like us, and we thought we'd talk about a thing that everybody else was watching. Is that it? Is that the reason?
Michelle, it's our 3-year anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Jesus. Wow. Here I thought it was this big important thing, and my fucking co-host doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
No, I know it's our anniversary. I just forgot. This is who I am.
You forgot our anniversary.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
I can't. Do you know? Okay, hang on. I have had to put my anniversary in my actual calendar, the one with my husband, because we cannot remember it. And each year I would put it in the calendar and be like, okay, we did the math. It is November 21st. And I just said that and realized I don't think that's right. And I would put it in my calendar for the year, and then I would forget by the next year. I'd have to go look at the previous thing and be like, okay, now I've got it. I had to set it as a recurring event because I have no idea what day it is.
Yeah, I will say that I got a lot of weird baggage and shit coming and stored overhead and all that shit. And I come with a lot of weird quirks and tendencies. But the one thing I can assure you of, ladies, I will never forget your fucking birthday.
I will. I'll forget it on his behalf.
Anyway, I don't even know what the whole point of that was, except to say it's our 3-year anniversary next year, guys. Or next week. Next year? No,
next year would be our 4-year anniversary.
Oh, I'm going to get through the end of this episode. I really, really am. And I'm never going to eat those gummies before we record ever again.
That's a lie. That is definitely a lie.
No, it's not. Well, yeah, probably it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, 3 years of We Watch Shudder. We're going to celebrate it with the Evil Dead franchise. I can't think of a better way to celebrate it. Actually, I thought I could have swore at some point we had done at least one of these movies, because I know we and a bunch of our friends all went to see Evil Dead Rise in the theater together, and I think that's probably why I thought we had done one. But I'm actually really... You've seen all of these movies, correct, Michelle?
Yes.
And how long has it been since you saw them?
Army of Darkness I saw for the first time after we met Bill Moseley. So that was pretty recently. That was after Tears of the Kingdom came out, so I'd have to go look at the video game release date. I know it was at that point. I mark everything based on what video game was I playing at the time. And that was Tears of the Kingdom. Evil Dead Rise I saw in the theater. Evil Dead, I don't know, at some point. I saw the 2013 one in the theater too. I have no idea. I don't even know if I've seen the second one though. I can't say for sure that I've seen Evil Dead 2.
I have seen all 5 of these films theatrically. Even the ones that I wasn't old enough to see on their theatrical run, I did see them in revival screenings later on. And then I saw the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, these are some of my fucking... some of them.
This for next week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We're not recording. We're not recording that episode yet. That's my bad. I just folded time in my brain and thought we were already recording that episode. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.